But never mind. I probably was banned, to be honest. Probably did not enter it. So Endpoint will be starting on the CT side. Over to you, chaps.
It's a relatively conventional kind of start up towards middle, to be fair. You see this quite a bit from T sides, honestly, in the UK, especially because Endpoint do like to go for this early apps control and then play a lot over towards B. As you can see, just a couple kills come in and the bomb's already down. So it's a very lackluster sort of round from both sides, and the T's get into these aggressive spots can really catch off the rotations. So I think Vex have got a really good chance coming into this pistol, honestly. Aussie opening up proceedings with a nice little 2k and a lot of damage coming in from these Glocks as well. Really difficult. There's 3 players directly on that site. It's going to play so heavily into their hands, and they're just going to back away and save. You know, Kit and Smoke for Mighty Max still there, and Robin obviously not taking any damage to the armor. Will, in theory, if it remains that way, be able to buy up the head armor for a bit cheaper. So Vex with a quick hit down middle, reading in a bit of counter-stratting maybe of Endpoint's general setup, and they managed to get the pistol on the board. Ah, Robin.
Rip armor.
RIP.
I always find that a weird situation, right? Because it's like, I mean, you don't necessarily have to buy a helmet in this round anyway, but he will. He spent $1,000 on his helmet. So that's the weird thing, because your armor is worth $650, right? So so if you get a kill, that's $300. So is it worth more getting the kills? They have to. They're almost definitely going to take damage from the bomb at the very least. So I feel like they're spending $1,000 regardless. So you can get a kill and get $300 back, but then you take damage from the bomb. You got to spend $1,000. So I feel like he just lost money by taking that 3 hits of armor.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much people think about that, but I just feel like that's just a waste of money there.
I wasn't expecting him to fully buy up the Kevlar. I mean, the SMGs obviously being on the table for Vex, maybe that's the reason he thought the upgrade was worth it. But yeah, I think that's definitely a net loss overall.
I mean, he could have got like a slightly stronger weapon or a bit more utility to boot.
It's just a waste of money, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm very good at wasting my money, but I would run away from the bomb.
Cool...
I have a nice knife doing it, but at least I've saved my armor.
This is a cool one. Endpoint sort of doing the Astralis smokes on the half-pipe. And just trying to make sure that they can make things as difficult as possible for Vex, just shutting down every choke point. And that's a pretty important kill. There's 40 seconds left, and a kill. The smokes are finally gone. But this will get a bit awkward now.
Oh, Huzza as well. He's just lying in wait. Lincoln doesn't check the angle. And that's weapons. Those weapons can be recovered now by the Endpoint side, but the hit's coming towards the B-bomb site. Pulse sitting at the coffin finds 2, but Whisk in the 1-on-3 now. Just a MAC-10 in hand. Granted, one of these players doesn't have full armor, but the rest of them do, so the MAC-10 won't be too effective. Swaps out to the AK, and as they creep on through, this will be a very difficult one for him to win.
Both coming in from CT as well, but they're not really expecting him in the barbecue area. However, Luzza, backs away, plays it safe, able to take him down. Good recovery of weapons as well. So fairly costly for Endpoint again. Vex, they get the bomb down, keeping it competitive, and once again, seemingly instead of going for the eco and the early full buy, they instead want to get the pressure on immediately. But I think it is this 2k from Pulse especially that just allowed them to secure it. A 1-on-3, a bit too much. It would have been a 1-on-4, technically speaking, for Whisk. A bit too much to ask, I think, in that kind of a situation.
To be fair, in the 1-on-3, I think there was a bit of a bit of communication from Endpoint. They kind of went in onto the B-bomb side a little bit too early. They weren't going to clear out the pit properly because there was a banana flank coming through as well on the retake. So it was winnable if he hit the shots, but unfortunately, falls his
I think Daniel will agree as well that Inferno is probably the best map for a second round force buy on the CT side, especially because it can be a bit misleading, I think. The economy buff. I know there's actually going on, but I'm going to talk anyway. So, because yes, you can get an earlier buy, but depending on the map and how much utility you need, you're often, if you choose to have the M4s, you're going to have a lot less utility, so you can't hold things for as long. You won't have as many counter flashes and such. So I feel like it can be more dangerous for a CT side to go for the earlier buys. But you have the benefit of, like, you can buy full armor, a CZ, and a smoke grenade. That can go a hell of a long way on Inferno.
You do see them taking a lot of of pressure towards that A site already. Endpoint, they've kind of fallen back towards those bomb sites, but Max has actually pushed all the way through Banana. He knows that there's no presence towards that site, but the arches are open, so a different avenue of attack available for the Vexed lineup. But the bomb still not really there with his teammates. They're going to show this bit of pressure, hope that the Endpoint players rotate away, and the bomb can start creeping its way out of the apartments. Aussie springs in for the kill, and he'll be able to get the plant off. Vexed will now fall back and try and rendezvous on that A site.
There's another really smart play coming in from Vex, but Thomas is here very quickly indeed. Aussie able to deal with him though and keep it in favor of that T side. The CT retake a little bit split as well, with Luzzer coming in from the B site on his lonesome. Not expecting Pith here, but a little bit too early, jumping the gun a bit too early. Maybe Pith gives himself away and ends up getting taken down. Not quite able to cleanly land the headshot though, so it's all on to Luzzer, and he does not fancy his chances at all. Going to back away and save what he's got. So Vexed able to secure the lead here early on, and it seems we're in for a bit of a back and forth start to this game so far.
I'm curious to see if we'll have the force buy with Luzzer dropping. He could even drop an AWP if he wanted. Just playing this as the same round as we saw previously, because I agree with James that on this map it's really nice to get that 4th round buy instead with the CTs instead of the 3rd round buy, just because you get the AWP, you get more nades, and CZ plus smokes is just so incredibly powerful. And it's also a very good test against the T side, because there should be protocols on the T side to deal with this specific type of round where the CTs are trying to delay maximum amount of time with the smokes. And indeed we see the AWP there as well.
That's a bit of a shame. They kind of lined up for him, but I think was still in the process of moving maybe when he took the shot, so doesn't land anything, it would seem.
And they know that they have the AWP on the table now.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of gives the game away a little bit. But Luzzer, like we've said, you know, pretty safe AWPer, but he's also quite dynamic, especially in a round like this. He's going to fly between these two bomb sites and try and keep the T's on their toes. Although it does seem they're pretty heavily over towards B at the moment. I feel like for me, it's one of the interesting things about Inferno is the fact that there's almost rotational play on the T side. You know, moving between, because you have all that control in at middle, but they're just going to stick towards B, using the utility, not baiting anything out, but they line up. Pulse able to take down 3 with the 5-7. The spam pays off, and it's a man advantage. They do manage to deal with him and able to get the bomb down. But kit available for Luzzer and still that AK in play as well. This is looking really good for Endpoint to possibly secure this one. Going to try and go for a bit of a cheeky boost up to catch some players off guard in at CT. They can hear them, not yet being spotted out either. Looking to catch off Robin as he's just holding the flanks, not expecting the boost at all. Thomas going up high, does take down Pith on the bottom, and running out of ammo. Lincoln has to swap across to the Glock, but able to get away. They're a little bit nervous, it would seem, on the Endpoint side of things. So Defuse coming in, he's not going to go for the peak, and Luzzer is able to get away with it. Takes him down, but it's all in vain as Endpoint managed to secure the round.
And Pulse, the pistol player, he seems to be able to consistently get a number of kills just with the pistol alone.
Yeah, I know, right?
If he doesn't get those 3 kills, it's not really a round that's in contention for Endpoint there. You sort of see the gamble stack towards CT, hoping that they'll find a kill, and it did work out for them, but that definitely got a little bit awkward there, and it seems like we will just continue to go back and forth, and actually see another buy coming in through for Vex, and this time the AWP is into the hands of Lincoln, not Vanity.
Be interesting to see. Maybe a matter of economy or spawns or something like that, but Endpoint, despite winning the round, pretty terrible buy from them. 4 MP9s. And obviously the UMP in play, who's going to get caught off by the looks of things. But a bit of a boost up for Robin. A lot of players stacked in towards, that mid position, and Pith comes in with a team kill. A little bit awkward. Manages to retrieve an AK, I guess, but man advantage for Endpoint at this point. And slowing things down, it allows for some rotations to come in. The Vex have been relatively quiet. Thomas, though, seemingly not needing it, as it's all on towards Lincoln. Not really had a great opportunity to use this AWP, and it doesn't look like he's going to be long for this world at all. Just goes for the Hail Mary shot. Not even really moving his crosshair at all, and Thomas able to take him down. So that's a bit of a mess from Vex. Like we kind of said, seemed like they had a good chance at that one, but...
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think we see the ever so rare -1 from Pith, which is unfortunate 5 rounds in, but...
Crikey, that's not good, is it? Haven't seen that for a while. Haven't seen that since Dan in the show match.
Ooh.
King of the TKs.
I kill everyone, James.
Quake player for you. Everyone's a target. is a nice opportunity for Endpoint to, after trades back and forth, to just stabilize, make some money with the SMG, just the one.
Yeah, and finally this war of attrition is kind of stopped, right? If they consistently kept winning rounds back and forth, it would have never stopped. But
Yeah.
finally, Endpoint are able to kind of get their hands on the match a little bit. So
Only losing one player is fantastic for them. Let's see if Robin keeps the SMG.
based on the way he's been playing in the apartment so far, it seems, yeah, I think.
Yeah, if he's playing close up,
Yeah.
that fire rate is fantastic. And he
Vex-
can just farm kills for his team as well. Farm the money.
There's kind of a lack of, I think, Molotovs available for Vexed, so they're not going to be able to establish themselves too heavily into the round like this. They kind of want to show some presence towards Banana early on, but now only one Molotov available. In fact, taking a lot of damage from the Molotovs deployed by Endpoint. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of approach this side hit, because they've got enough smokes for an execute, but it might just not. It won't be really enough versus all the utility available for Endpoint. That nade does so much. Max as well will get 2 kills, the third as well. Pulse chiming in and running past the smoke as Pith is the last remaining on 16 HP. Yeah, I'm not really liking his odds in this situation. He's got 2 kills so far, but I feel like the HP exchange will just be a bit too much.
Yeah, a little bit nasty. Has to turn away from the flash and
The fire
can't
rate
readjust the aim. Yeah, indeed. The run and gun makes it kind of hard to deal with, you know. But at least Pith able to get on the scoreboard with those 2 kills, away from the -1 or 0. So not quite as bad for him, I suppose. But that nade is devastating from Mighty Max, and then just, you know, clean little spray down on some half HP players to essentially secure the round single-handedly. It was pretty nasty. And a great little flash as well. I don't know if you just spotted that at the start of the replay. Just making the plays by himself. He's typically seen as a bit more of a supportive player, but a very smart player for sure. And it's plays like that that really, really do show his prowess.
I'd imagine that Vexed are gonna need to think more about defaults after a round like that. Just get rid of some of the utility and try to see if they can somehow bait out an open or a pick, because Endpoint, again, from that individual standpoint, just looked very good. If they're able to just sit on the bomb sites, even with the 5-7 that we saw from Pulse, it's just quite consistent that they're going to do just too much damage. So I think the default is probably where the money is for Vexed, if they can run a good default. So we'll have to wait and see if that is to be the case. And obviously they got max loss bonus following this round, so they'll have all the money that they could possibly want to have a slow round. But will it be something that will be more successful than these fast ones? I hope so for them at least, because this is not going well so far.
Yeah. It seems like they have quite a few issues on their T side just in general. And I think it kind of goes back to, again, trying to make solo plays. You know, they kind of have some setups here and there, but once one player goes down, it seems like that whole idea of working as a team just sort of falls apart, and someone tries a bit too hard to force the issue and, you know, try and return a frag when there's no one really helping him out, or it's not part of the plan that they had initially. And then Endpoint are just able to kind of capitalize on that slightly broken style of trading, I guess.
And I think similar to Mirage, they kind of rely on like one individual in a strat to kind of pull a rotation if the strat's to be successful, and it doesn't seem like the Vex players are kind of firing on all cylinders. They're not finding those opening picks. They're not really just getting off clean kills. It's usually like a 1-for-1 exchange so far, and it's that is okay. Laza with the boost to take the pick into middle. Vanity's just never going to be expecting that height.
Yeah, fantastic little setup, but great little flick from him as well to land it. And Lincoln is very quickly in there to scoop that AWP up. Did land the leg, you know, Vanity, so that's a little bit of a shame, actually. They'll be slightly annoyed by that one, but might have a bit of an effect going into the latter stage of the round. But again, Vexed on the back foot. It's very difficult for them, it seems, to play from this as well, to try and recover things back, as Endpoint just fall back into a very passive setup and wait for Vex to maybe gain a little bit of control, maybe expend some utility, but really not giving Vex any room to work with for the most part.
Like you said before, Laza, like kind of a very rotational AWPer. He's made his way to the B-bomb site now. He swapped positions entirely, like kind of happy that if they're going to use a Molotov and execute properly, then there's potential for him to go down, but Vex, they don't seem to even have that in their arsenal, so...
Oh, this is pretty nasty as well. Above the smoke, Robin able to take down one. Has yet to be traded. Will get Molotov'd out of position, eventually dealt with, but a great little crossfire that he's got set up with Thomas. Picks up 2 and manages to land the 3rd as Lincoln misses yet another shot on the AWP, and it will be a 7th round for Endpoint, surviving with that bare minimum of 3. Relatively clean from them. You know, they get the early advantage and they just easily clean up.
I think I can kind of speak for a lot of UK players. Thomas is such an annoying player to play against.
Yeah.
The way he plays the sights and sometimes the buys he goes for, like a big fan of shotguns, a big fan of kind of the XM in particular. He pulls that out on a number of maps, and he sees so much success with it. It's actually it's a bit strange to see. There's several players that kind of try and replicate that style as well, but they just never get the same results.
Ooh, Pulse trying to spot out what he can, but of course there's a smoke in the way, so not a great deal to see here. Going to give himself away, but backs away in good time. Endpoint, at least for now, seemingly gotten themselves a bit of banana control. Pith taken down to low HP. It's once again not the most solid of buys from Vexed. They're just trying to find something, anything, to just give them a little bit of hope, a little bit of an advantage in some of these rounds, but it's Endpoint that managed to remain in the driver's seat 90% of the time. For the execute, going to be coming in towards B, pretty simple so far. I think they're trying to sell a bit of a double fake, but Endpoint not quite biting. They've got 3 players here, a flash lined up as well, ready for this smoke to go down. Flash going to come in as both players push through. Pith and Whisk, though, quickly take them down. It's all on towards Luzza with this AWP in at the pillar, able to get one, but very quickly dealt with, and Vexed him with a pretty good chance of securing this round, in all honesty. 4 on 2, as they will get the bomb down, and yeah, it looks like immediate call to save. Oh, even the Lurk is able to pick up his kill, so salt in the wound for Endpoint, it would appear here. Sure, they've got a pretty solid lead, but Vexed certainly testing them, as they will manage to secure a 3rd round.
It's cool how there was one player playing anti-flash there to just keep the soul safe against that. But the funny thing is that it seemed like Endpoint read the situation really well. They checked top mids at around like 105. Didn't see anyone, immediately rotated a player over from A towards B to have 3 there. So then the question was, you know, what was the main motivation for them to go for another information play so shortly after it?
Yeah.
Either they just felt like these guys are holding grenades in their hands at the moment, which was likely what they did think. That obviously has more risk than what seems to be consistent, which is them just sitting on a bomb site with superior numbers. So I'm surprised they went for the aggression, and it's but otherwise it seems like they do have a really good read of exactly how Vexed are playing this.
And they still have a lot of smokes as well available on that B site as well, so it's not as if they can kind of hold them back a little bit further. Holding onto a smoke with 30 seconds, 20 seconds remaining on the clock is such like a powerful move for the CTs, and Maxi tries to get close on the angle, but flashed up and he's not able to come through, but Pulse will answer back with 2. So Endpoint come out on top in the banana exchange. They will now give up that bit of position. In fact, seems like Robin's still a little bit inquisitive. Happy to get out with his life there, considering he's been tagged down to 46 HP, but that will actually keep Pulse here as well. So I think they wanted to rotate an additional player towards that A site, but now because of that pressure, because of that HP lost, they will commit 2 towards each of these sites.
And talking about information gathering, they get a little bit initially, but Vex seemingly again, you know, keeping Endpoint guessing as Luzza here on his lonesome, but that great turret style of AWPing goes for the repeak, however, and just finds 2 very easy kills for him, it would seem. Don't need no help, no kind of backup. So Vex are in with kind of a good chance there. You know, they do a lot of damage early on, but Pulse, especially with his multi-frag round, and Luzza pretty reliable on the AWP, of course. Great little readjustment from him. But I don't know about you, I feel like Pulse for me is probably one of the best like Inferno B-site anchors in the UK scene that we have at the moment. I think he's so consistent over on that B-site. And it kind of allows for maybe Mighty Max to get a bit more aggressive because he has that reliable teammate in the form of Pulse.
Yeah, and when I was kind of like doing my homework on some of these teams, I looked a lot at like the head-to-head matchups, as Pulse will continue to kind of shine on that banana position. But a lot of the Endpoint players in all of the head-to-heads, granted they went 6-1 in groups, they all really just showed up. Everybody's kind of averaging around that 18 kill to 20 kill mark, which is kind of contingent on the fact that they either run away with a game with everybody kind of contributing, or it's like a very tightly fought game all the way through, which case you get the maximum amount of opportunities to let those stats kind of come on to fruition. So it's Endpoint are a very, very good team to watch, and I think like they've been at the top of the UK scene for such a long time. There's a little bit of contention, but we'll see once again Endpoint find a kill at the very start of this round.
Yeah, man.
They've already lost some of the B-side presence.
Pulse knows his angles, it would seem. Gets a clean little spray down, and once again, as you can kind of see, Vanity just a little bit tilted, you know what I mean? Everything just seems to be working against him. Like, what can you do about that? You just sort of stood in a position. I don't even think Whisk sprayed through the smoke or anything, and Pulse just takes him down, you know, completely through the smoke. Cleanly as well, there was no chance for him to get away or anything like that. Vex just seemed to have a little bit of bad luck coming into this semi-final here today, and Endpoint CT side has been so strong. Oh, Luzza blinded up. Thought he'd hidden away from it, but unfortunately not. He's kind of the sole holder, at least for now, but, you know, does well. Doesn't get too greedy, takes the one shot, backs away, Molotov down, and that obviously buys enough time for Pulse to rotate back in.
Endpoint needs some sort of information here. They have no smokes available. They can't kind of delay any of these site hits, and so it will come down to just hitting their shots or getting a little bit of a stack towards one of these bomb sites. And we already see like that rotation came through for Endpoint. That one Molotov thrown, they were already bringing additional players towards the B site, but it will come into now Thomas as well as Robin on A. Thomas gets 2. Robin still holding strong in the pit as Lincoln's the last remaining player, and Endpoint are able to close out the round. But Vexed are able to still pull those rotations through. They're keeping track of what Endpoint have available to them.
It's a little bit unexpected, honestly, coming into this series. We thought it was going to be relatively competitive. The Endpoint seemingly really working on the previous games that they've played against Vexed. You know, not only in the Omen UK Open, but also like they play against Vexed a lot in Prem. They were in like the same group and, you know, contention for that kind of top spot. So bit of a rivalry forming between these two teams, I think, in the UK scene at the moment. It just seems today Endpoint are very much on top of things. However, again, maybe the scoreline not quite as transparent as it seems. It is a little bit more competitive than this. It's just Endpoint have such great retake scenarios that they end up securing most of the rounds.
It seems like Vex is losing someone early rounds like very consistently, and then it just always seems to give Endpoint this just like really very simple response. Let's just tighten up, play more passively, just fall back really far, and then they in that 5v4 scenario, which has happened fairly consistently for Endpoint. And when they're sitting passively, it's just really easy for them to just wait. They don't have to take any risks at that point. And it doesn't seem like Vex have strong enough set pieces to actually make that a problem for Endpoint.
Wow. He's got somewhere to be.
Seems like it's going to be a tried and true. It's just it's the B rush, and actually overwhelmed Pulse, who's been a consistent thorn in the side of that kind of B site presence. It will be actually a 3-on-3 as we get into a relative post plant. Luzza, though, is very fast on the flank. Could potentially catch them off guard, but Lincoln's covered the angle, and there's potential second player to be found as well. But yeah, changing the pace up massively seems to just be the play here, and it's worked at least as far as Vex getting to the post plant situation, because they've kind of fallen short a lot. They've gotten the bomb down like 1v3s a number of times. Yeah,
still not quite over yet though, but Robin falls and Thomas the only one remaining. Molotov'd out here. So he seems to be slightly aware of his position. Not a great deal of time for him to deal with things, but still don't give him too many opportunities. Lincoln, though, on the angle will take him down. However, an 11-4 half for Endpoint is relatively solid. Again, you know, a bit of a sea of blue. A bit back and forth towards the beginning, but once they got into the groove of things, Endpoint really started to dominate. And Vexed gonna need a hell of a CT side here. Obviously, the pistol would be very nice to pick up, but as we all kind of know, as we're all sort of familiar with, not quite as much weight as it used to have, so it's going to be difficult for Vex. They need to get off to a clean start here on this CT side, and an interesting pistol buy as there's no kit in play, so really putting a lot of faith into their USP players, it would seem.
Yeah, and they're not going to be able to kind of have the option for that kind of 4th round gun round, right? Granted, you get that kind of the best buy available as a CT, but it will just come down to hopefully they win the pistol, right? If that's kind of like nightmare scenario where you lose the pistol, it becomes a lot harder to string rounds together. But Endpoint seems to just be trying to probe for information elsewhere on the map. They're just looking to see if Vex go for anything gimmicky, maybe some sort of a push through the A-side apartments or any sort of aggression elsewhere on the map, and it doesn't seem like that's going to be the play for Vex. They're just going to sit passively on the sites and just hope that they hit their shots as Endpoint come in.
Ooh. Lincoln, kind of tempting fate a little bit, is going to drop back. Again, you know, this long area, you can kind of play it like that. Pith seemingly losing his standing there. Not quite sure what happened, but a great little flick at least comes in from Robin. Lincoln is eventually able to get his reward for being patient, but the A site firmly in the hands of Endpoint. Solid man advantage for them. Plenty of time to get into the post plants, and like I mentioned at the start of the round, no kit available for Vex, so everything seems to be against them yet again. Quick goosh on towards Vanity as he comes in from short. So many angles going to have to deal with here. Does drop Thomas, bringing it back into a 3-on-3, but a great little setup on the site. Lincoln trying his best to break it apart with this retrieved Glock, but Mighty Max gets the best of him only just, and Aussie on 5 HP is going to have to back away. Endpoint will get a 12th round, that second half pistol, and off to a flying start in this second half. Not going to be great for Vex. You know, again, on the back foot, as it seems the entire game. They have just been so, you know, pushed down into the dumps, unfortunately, by Endpoint.
Yeah, and they definitely had chances to maybe open up the round in their favor, but it's kind of the risk you have to take when you are going for that kind of hit your shots type setup on, on a pistol round, right? So.
And then they just kind of didn't.
Yeah, you miss, you die.
Yeah, basically. But if it had worked out, it could have been pretty great for them. Vex going in with the force buy though. All their chips in for once. Again, you know, we talked about how great the force buys on Inferno can be. There's a few smokes and things in play, but again, no kit. It's going to rely on a lot of the initial frags to come through for Vexed. And Endpoint just playing things slowly, passively. This default seems a little bit cleaner from them so far. They just want to catch one player off guard and then, you know, work it into the latter stages of the round. So far, though, you know, they get banana control pretty easily. That's about it at this point.
Yeah, and there's nobody really going to be facing on the side of Vex, so there's no opportunities for Endpoint to maybe get a very early initial entry. Given the fact that they have this kind of a lackluster buy coming into this round, they're going to just hope that they kind of spring into one of the bomb sites and that the SMGs and the pistols can kind of catch them out as they go for an execute. But the time winding down now, Endpoint need to make a decision. They've still not really gotten too much of a foothold on either of these sites. Granted, they have middle control, they have top of banana, so those are kind of the opening starts, but Pith with the deagle will at least take down Robin on the retreat, and that should signal a little bit that this is going to be a B site hit. Aussie on the boost, finds one, but traded initially. And although they concede the bomb site, Lincoln and his teammates are very, very close. They actually stopped the plant, 20 seconds left. But one by one, they're just going to be pushing through these smokes. Laza caught in an awkward situation where he doesn't have enough bullets for the amount of players available. And yeah, Vex are going to be able to steal that one away, given the fact that they were on that kind of a terrible force buy coming in through.
Yeah, a little bit of a shame. But they kind of make it work. Again, the unexpected nature of it. And I think it's sort of difficult because it's good for Vex to get that round, obviously, and, you know, get slightly back into things. And obviously, pretty weak buy from Endpoint. But it's hard to rely on rounds like that because when you are feeling slightly looser, slightly less risk in your aggressive style of plays, you can really get away with, you know, getting in the face of your opponent, something a little bit unorthodox that you wouldn't necessarily do with the rifles. And that can be very hard to replicate with the rifles because it is a lot riskier. You know, if you go down, you give up a lot more control.
Yeah, but that might be the lifeline that Vex need. They're able to get a bit of a better buy coming into this one. They can potentially string a couple of rounds together should they not concede the force buy.
It's just sort of a question of consistency, I feel. Ooh. Bit of damage from Lincoln on the MP5. Got to be careful. Does manage to just get away on 4 HP. They're going to go chasing for him as well, and Aussie is here with the M4, but kind of fluffs it a little bit. Only able to get one, despite 3 moving in and none of them looking at him initially. So Endpoint going to be in with the man advantage. Maybe we're going to see a bit of a swing round from them. Pith with the MAC-10 tries to do what he can. Whisk doing the same, but unfortunately the pistol's coming out on top, it would seem. And a 1 versus 3 for Vanity as Endpoint. It looks like they are going to cash their chips in, you know, and get themselves a steal away around. Mighty Max with the clean CZ drive-by yet again.
Yeah, same start to the round. Same start to the half that we saw at the beginning of this game, right?
Yeah.
It's just a back and forth fight between Force Spies, and it seemed like the setup was kind of interesting there on the arches because he got into a position where he was safe. He had a teammate covering so that they had somewhat of a crossfire, and so he was hoping that when he pulled out the reload, that when they pushed him, his teammate was going to be able to cover, and then maybe he'd spring in, maybe kind of reciprocate, but unfortunately just kind of fell through because he missed the initial opening
Yeah,
duel. So.
I think they were just sort of in like a bit of a weird spot, not really expecting so many players to come in at once, and Aussie just solidly caught off guard. A lot of kills coming in for Endpoint here, but Whisk on the FAMAS trying to retrieve what he can. 3 versus 2, it's been a pretty hectic start to the round. Pulse, though, will catch off Whisk out in the open, not expecting that player in the apartment, so Aussie the only one remaining. And I think with the money that Vexed have got at this point is soon to be Curtain's kind of last chance saloon for them at this point. Endpoint going to get up to that 14th round, and going to be some broken buys coming in. Depends on how they want to play it, if they want to get 10 in a row or if they want to try and secure a bit of a force buy. Thomas cleanly taken down Aussie as Endpoint dominating yet again. Vexed really, really gone missing in this series so far.
There's holes all over the place as well because Vex just never have an established economy, so they can't ever really have the right amount of grenades to actually control the round from the early stages. So it's just too many holes for Endpoint to just pick fights in.
Yeah, and on both of the maps that we've seen so far, they're maps that they've played, and they were competitive all the way through, right? The last time they played Inferno in the Omen League stages, it went 19-15 in Vex's favor. It went to overtime, and it was a very tightly fought battle all the way through. But it doesn't seem that Vex have really shown up to play. It's
kind of crumbling under the pressure, I think.
Yeah, all of it on the line, right? So
indeed, and it's very easy for things to break down. And there is also maybe a little bit, Whisk, not solidly in the lineup type thing, but they have played a fair amount with him. It shouldn't be this bad for them, So that's kind of the only reason I could think that maybe something is slightly different than usual. But like I say, it really should not be this poor from Vex, honestly.
When you're making the point that Endpoint struggled to close the games as well before too, so far so good. Well, maybe not in this round.
Yeah, that would be the game, wouldn't it? 11 rounds in a row from Vexed.
A bit of a tall ask, just based on the kind of individual performance.
Yeah,
somebody was like having the game of his life. There's maybe a hope. He's just got like the biological aimbot of sorts. And he just fortunately. They're gonna find a few lifelines on the CT side at least, right? Like they win one of these force buys, they can maybe get a better buy together, get some of those grenades you sort of highlighted, Dan. It's just like you can get some control, they can maybe establish themselves early on, and maybe make Endpoint begin to question or have to go for some sort of an information play or some level of control elsewhere on the map where they can Vex can maybe potentially capitalize off of. But it's not looking too good so far. It's a long way to climb to get back into this game and really make us believe that they're gonna come back and bring it to a map 3.
Yeah, I think it's something you want to see where when the CTs do have max utility, like we should be seeing now, that they understand how to take Banana away, because it's just really interesting to probe and see what the reaction is from the T side to see how well they can handle that. Some teams don't handle it very well at all. Some teams handle it much better. Some T sides will just end up just letting the smokes be, and they'll play really slow, which helps the CTs massively. Some of them will try to challenge the smokes, and then there's fragging exchanges, and then the dynamic of Inferno starts to develop, and well, it's like Vex are going to go for this. Oh my
God!
Damn!
Catastrophically.
Oh,
Thomas is pretty good, isn't he?
Yeah, mate. He can just kind of pop out of nowhere.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
God. Okay, he is. Turned it on this round. He's like, look, guys, I'm getting a bit hungry. I want to go for some food. So I'm just going to, wrap this one up if that's cool.
I told you, man. Thomas is such an annoying player.
Yeah. It's just out of nowhere as well, you know what I mean? He's been having like a good game, for sure, but like nothing insane, and then just pulls it out of the bag. And Pith now kind of the only one to keep the hopes alive, and I think he's looking to go for this. All right, let's see what you got. Let's see what you got. We got Pulse and Mighty Max on low HP, so it's definitely doable. To be fair, he's feeling himself right now, as he very quickly makes it towards this A site. Kit available, but very little information to work with and no real utility to, you know, break apart crossfires, and Luzzo with a nice little angle able to take him down. So Endpoint immediately back in with the hard reset. And I mean, yeah, this is like, what can you do, you know? Especially on that one.
Yeah, I think as well his teammates caught like trying to throw a smoke, right? So he's just like scrambling to get his gun out and just like fire back, but that was just too quick.
Too fast.
Freiburg.
Alright.
But at least Endpoint now, that we sort of say they can maybe crumble at the end of games, right? But they secure at least overtime, right? They've gone to that 15, just one more round to get, and Vexed on a very, very lackluster bye. It's likely to kind of swing their way. Aussie will try and get a trade after the fact that Vanity's lost his life on Banana, and once again they concede the B bomb site. Vexed are now into a retake very, very early on into this round, as the bomb will start to make its way towards that site.
Pulse easily able to take down Whisk as well. Not looking good for Vex, as I think this is certainly Endpoint's game to lose right here.
Nah.
No one hitting the shots, it would seem. All on to Lincoln. Maybe he can get a few consolation kills or something, but not even that. Too much to ask. 16-6, as Endpoint will clean up the series 2-0 with a very, very dominant first semi-final coming in today.
Well, we said the score on the first map was maybe a little misleading, but it seems on a second map it is quite the statement being made by Endpoint, dominating in a very one-sided affair. Great performance from the likes of Pulse, Thomas and Lazza, all with around 20 plus frags. And I mean, what can we say? That was just a great turnout from Endpoint.
Just continuing the form from Mirage. I mean, again, individually, we would see them maybe deciding to give up bomb sites, but they'd always have successful retakes, good coordination, but generally just always taking the edge in the fights. And obviously, Counter-Strike's always going to come down to the fights, despite seeing some good T-side moves on the first map. This map, Vex just looked kind of lost pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, not being able to capitalize on potential trade scenarios as well. Vex seems to just miss out on a few opportunities, but like we kind of tried to highlight earlier, just maybe not showing up to play in this best of 3, and that's going to be a long road now cancelled out for Vex, right? They've fought through for 7 months or kind of getting to this stage, and now in the semifinals, it's all gone.
Pulse doing 13 assists for Pulse. It's not often, especially with a 16-6 scoreline, you get somebody going towards